Okay, so hello and welcome back. I'm so excited to start off day 2 of the Life Skills KU series presented by Community America. I will be hosting today's session where we will discuss the importance of building and establishing credit. This is something we often hear as students, but many of us never really get a great education on why it's important, how to do it effectively, or even where to start. This is why we have Community America's very own Liz Lewis here to help, as well as Kevin McGraw, Senior Peer Educator from KU Student Money Management Services. Hi, Liz. Will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Liz Lewis. I'm with Community America Credit Union. I have been in financial services since I graduated from college, so well over 20 years now. And more importantly, why I have a passion for this topic is I have a son who's a senior in college, and we've navigated the last 4 years of him kind of establishing his own credit and building his own independence. So when he graduates, he's ready to go. So excited to share what we've learned along the way.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. Kevin, will you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the Student Money Management Services at KU?
Yeah, thanks, Roy. Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin McGraw. I'm currently a senior here at KU studying finance and business analytics. Like Roy said, I am with Student Money Management Services today. I've been with them for about a year, and Student Money Management Services is committed to improving KU students' financial situations by empowering them to analyze their finances, make sound decisions, and commit to controlling their financial lives while at the University of Kansas and into the future. And I'm excited to help everyone learn more about credit today.
We're excited as well. Thank you both for joining. To everyone tuning in, feel free to submit your questions as you think of them. We will have a Q&A time at the end of the session. Liz, I want to begin by asking you simply, what is credit and why does everyone need to establish it?
Sure. Well, first, when people talk about credit, what they are usually meaning is your credit score. So that's the thing that we all think about when credit comes up. And that tells lenders how likely you are to pay them back on time based on your behaviors that you've had before. So it's really quite simple. The FICO score ranges from 300 to 850. The higher the score, the better. And 60% of that score is made up on paying your bills on time and keeping your balances low on things like credit cards. So it's just really important to establish that early and get that good foundation as you go forward.
When you put it that way, building credit is not as complicated as I thought.
No.
But I assume it can't be built from one day to another. Liz, why is it essential for students to begin early, and what are repercussions for waiting too long to establish credit?
So just like you said, it doesn't. It's not that complicated, but it does take time. So the more that you have the time to build that credit and show people that you're responsible and you pay your bills on time, if you start that when you're 18 or 19 years old in college with paying your apartment on time, paying your credit card off every single month, then when you graduate, you've got that history to tell people that, hey, I do pay everything on time. I don't misuse my money. So you're going to have a better chance of getting an apartment, qualifying for a car loan on your own. So it really just sets you up when you graduate from college to have already established that you pay on time and you're responsible.
Definitely. As college students, many of us don't realize how important it is to start building credit early. Kevin, from a student's perspective, can you talk about when and how to start establishing credit?
Yeah, for sure. So I began to establish my credit my freshman year of college. My older siblings stressed the importance of getting started early with my credit history, and they pointed me in the right direction when looking for the card that was best for me. At Student Money Management, something we ask students when they're looking to apply for cards is to ask yourself, like, what will I be using this credit for? And so as a freshman at the time, I knew I'd be using it for small expenses like gas and maybe groceries. So because of this, I researched cards with no annual fee and a low credit line. And having no established credit at the time, I found a student credit card that was easy to apply for it and designed to help me learn how to properly use credit. Um, so definitely look for those student cards because when you have no established credit, it may be a little harder to get approved for a card, but these are designed to help you start building those.
Yes, that's a great note to have. Back to Liz. What happens if you misuse a credit card or my credit begins to tank? Where do
Yeah,
I
so it's,
go and
yeah.
who do I ask for help?
So absolutely, as Kevin mentioned, the important thing is that when you do get it, you use it for small purchases, gas, groceries, and you pay it off every time. But everybody at some point might accidentally get into trouble. They might build up that balance, and all of a sudden, that they can't pay it off on time, or so what I recommend there is the first thing you do is you call your credit card issuer and let them know that you're going to be late, and you just kind of own it. You don't panic. You take a deep breath. Everything can be worked through. Whatever you do, don't ignore it. Just call them up, let them know that you're having a little bit of trouble paying your bill. They'll work with you on it, and then really reach out to. I love that Kevin's part of the student money management. Reach out to them, have a conversation. Reach out to Community America, and we'll help guide you through it, because what you want to make sure is you don't make that a habit. It's when you make that a pattern of behavior that your score drops. So if you notice it happens the first time, just get some help, figure out how to better budget, and then move forward. But definitely reach out to the student money management or to Community America, and we'll get you back on the right path pretty quick.
I will definitely be using those resources. Thank you, Liz. Hopefully, everyone wrote that down. We all need some help sometimes, which is why it is important to choose an institution that will support you through your learning process. Thank you, Liz. Now, for the student perspective, Kevin, how would you suggest a college student use their credit card versus cash or debit card?
Yeah, that's a great question. So here at Student Money Management, we recommend using it for regular expenses rather than variable expenses. And so regular expenses includes things like rent, gas, maybe subscriptions. And so why we recommend those is because you know how much it's going to cost every month, and you know you'll be able to pay it off. Um, we recommend not using a credit card for something you can eat or wear as a college student, because while some cards may offer points for those purchases, generally you won't be approved for those until you're established credit anyway. So just being able to pay off that monthly credit card balance and to avoid the interest is critical. And then also credit cards are a little safer online just because they're not attached to your entire checking account. And so that's also for security reasons. Sometimes credit cards are the best option.
That's great. I know I need to limit myself when shopping online. Sometimes college students fail to think about the little things, like what form of payment to use, or even when it can make a huge difference. So, Liz, once I start building credit, how do I find the best credit card for me?
I think Kevin referenced it earlier when he was talking about how he went and searched for the type of card that would be best for him. So it's really important that you look for a low rate card, a no fee card. You're not going to rack up a lot of points at this age. So, at the spending behavior. So don't worry about that. Look for the low rate, no fee. And then what I really recommend is that you work through your credit union or your bank, because you're going to be able to automatically pay that through your online banking. That's how you're on all the time. So you can just pay your bill right then and there through online banking. They also know you. So it really brings all of your financial relationship together, your debit card and your credit card and your online banking. So I think that's really important. But one thing I will say, in addition to what Kevin had mentioned, is stay away from store cards. They're not your friend. There's no good to be had in those. So you will, if you get a 20% discount for something, you will more than pay that in what you're paying them in fees. So reach out to your credit union or your bank. Make sure it's a low rate, no fee card, just as Kevin had mentioned that they educate there through their services.
Stay away from store cards. I want to reiterate that.
Stay away from store cards.
Yes, for sure. Coming up, this is my final question, and it is for both of you. I have always been mindful of my personal brand and reputation, as I acknowledge it's super important when I present myself. So, my question for you is: does my credit score reflect more about me than just my finances?
Do you want me to jump in on that? Yeah, so it absolutely does, because more so than your fine, it doesn't say how much money you have. It says how likely you are to pay your bills and your commitments on time. So it says a lot about your character and how much you follow through on your commitments. So in addition to needing it to buy a car or borrow money, other companies can look at that too. When you're setting up utilities, they might look at it and say, "Do you pay your bills on time? And I give you these utilities or your car insurance." So it says a lot about your character that you pay your bill on time every single month, and people want to see that behavior.
Yeah, and Liz stated it correctly. I mean, another thing is sometimes when you're applying for jobs, some employers can actually pull up your credit history and your credit score, um, and just to see, like she said, how your character is if you're paying your bills on time, and whether you're a good or bad credit risk.
Great, great. That's great information. I feel like I have to go and reassess my credit situation now. This was super valuable info. Thank you both. Liz, I hear Community America has an exciting opportunity for people looking to dive deeper into credit building. Can you tell us about Community America's Credit Builder program?
Absolutely. So I'm super excited about this more so as a mom than as someone who works at Community America because it's been important to me that my son, when he is finding his first credit card and one that is teaching him the behaviors and wants him to have the behaviors to establish good credit. And so we have our credit builder program that we're launching. It's that low rate, no fee card that Kevin was talking about earlier that you need to make sure that you start off with. And in addition to that, we're giving incentives for learning and educating yourself on how to build behavior. So instead of trying to earn money off of you being late and things like that, it's no, we'll pay you in order to do the right things and develop the right behaviors so you can get started out on the right foot. So pay $5 to have your bills paid on time for 6 months. And then in addition to that, giving that free credit monitoring and credit score analysis so you can really keep touch digitally of how your credit health is. And you can kind of have ownership over that and be able to see that. So I'm pretty excited. It'll all be there at your fingertips, rewarding for good behavior and establishing good credit. And as Kevin said, that they educate on that low fee or no fee and then low APR. So pretty excited that we're able to provide this out to the student market.
Yes, no, it definitely sounds like an amazing opportunity. Thank you so much for explaining this in more detail. I know I will be joining, and I strongly encourage my peers to do so as well. If you're interested in learning more, please complete the form linked in the chat. Now, Liz and Kevin, it looks like we have a few questions that came into the chat, and we do have time to answer them, so that's great. So, we have okay, so from Anjan, the question is, what are the steps to build credit? So if you would have to narrow it down to a list, what are the steps? Where should you start? Where should you continue?
Yeah, I can jump in on this. So the first step obviously is establishing that credit. To build up a credit score, there's multiple different criteria. One is the length of credit history you have, your payments, whether you pay on time or you miss your payments, how much credit you actually have out. You usually will get a credit line starting off around $500, but that depends with every card. And so whether you're hitting that $500 mark or just staying below it can also affect your credit score.
Yeah, I agree with Kevin completely. We really recommend that you stay under 20% of your credit line. I think your rate can go up to as 30%, but if you get a $500 card, you really shouldn't be using it for more than $100 a month at most. So that would be kind of establishing that first thing, and then really paying it off in full on time every month is how you're going to establish good credit.
Great. We have more questions coming up, and this is one I'm super curious about. What about an airline card? Is that considered a store card?
An airline card is not a store card, but it is a rewards card. So they typically carry higher APRs, so by a lot, because they're really giving you those free points or those points in the rewards. You have to spend a lot of money in order to be able to get an airline ticket. So I would say just from my experience, unless you're spending 20 or 30 grand a year, you're probably not going to get a free airline ticket on those rewards cards, and it would probably be better suited for you to be getting a low APR card. Kevin, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I completely agree. Those cards are more designed for when you're in the business world and you're traveling a lot for business. That's what those cards are mainly designed for someone who's flying all those miles to rack up those points. So
Yeah.
as a college student, we don't really recommend those cards just because, like you said, the higher interest rates um, and harder to apply for. So.
Yeah.
All right. This is another question that I kind of am asking myself too, do more credit or more cards build more credit?
That's a tricky one. I would say don't start that way in the beginning. I think get a solid one card in the beginning because most of your score is built up by paying it off every single. So 60% of your FICO score, your credit score, is made up of paying off your bill on time every single month and carrying a low balance. The other stuff comes in for how long you've had it and how many cards you've had. So when you're in school, I would recommend only having one card and then managing that card. And then when you graduate, and if you want to, you could look at other credit, but then you'll be getting it through car loans and things like that. So I personally don't recommend having more than one card.
No, yeah, and I agree with that. Every time you apply for a new credit card, that can actually hurt your credit score, whether you get even approved or not. So definitely one card is the way to go when you're starting to establish your credit.
I see one question that came up in the chat about does it have to be paid once a month or can it be paid off regularly? And that's why I love having it set up with your online banking. You can pay it anytime through online banking. You do not have to wait until you get the bill. So what I've educated myself and my son on is like every Friday, you just pay whatever's on there. Or every payday, you pay whatever's on there. You don't have to wait for the actual official bill. You can pay it through online banking at any time. I think that's super important.
Great.
Yeah, and many services will also offer just automatic payments
Yep.
on the due date. And so we recommend just putting those in. And you can, of course, pay early whenever you want, but setting up that automatic payment will ensure you never miss those.
Yeah, critical.
All right, so we have time for a couple more questions. Um, what behaviors other than paying on time affect your credit? Is there something we haven't mentioned yet? Are there any other behaviors that you can think of?
I mean, I think both Kevin and I talked about how not carrying, not putting a lot of what they call utilization on the card. So if you have a $500 card, keeping that balance low. So paying it on time and keeping that balance low will be the two biggest drivers. And then over time, the longer you've had that card, the more that'll also help build up your score. And then later on, when you add different things like an apartment or a car loan or things like that, those will continue. But when you're in school or when you're just graduating, I think that first credit card is pretty powerful to show people that you don't spend everything that you have available. You pay it off every single month and you pay it on time. That's what they're looking to see.
No, yeah, and exactly. And once you also start paying off, if you have any student loans while you're leaving college, and you start paying those off as well, that will also start affecting your credit score.
Okay, this is our last question. What if we have a large variable cost that we can't cover ourselves? For example, an emergency cost.
So I'll jump in there. I mean, first, I think that's really a great question because one of the things you need to make sure that you're doing as you're able to is building up your savings account. So it's really important that you start building up a savings account before you do anything else. So when you do get those unintended expenses that come up, you need a new set of tires or whatever it might be, that you can dip into your savings account instead of a credit card. The next thing I would do is just say it depends on what that expense looks like. So I would reach out to Community America or to your the KU Money Management, tell them what that expense is going to look like before you put it on a credit card, because maybe there's another option that could be considered there if you think that you're going to revolve it. Maybe there's a small short-term loan or something like that we could do. But so critical to get that savings account built up, even if it's just you're slacking away $20, every 2 weeks or something, that adds up and makes a big difference for those surprise expenses. Kevin, what are your thoughts?
No, yeah, exactly. We want to avoid credit cards at all costs during those emergency expenses. You want to try to have 3 to 6 months built up for emergencies, whether you lose your job or medical expenses come up. And also, I mean, like Liz said, you can schedule an appointment here with Student Money Management. And there's a lot of funds actually set up within KU that are designed to help students during these times.
Awesome.
And we can help you find those and find you the best fit and help you apply.
Definitely. I think this is not a question, but this is a personal question. Where is KU Student Money Management Services? I feel like everybody needs to know. Where are they located on campus?
Yeah, so we're located in room 350G in Summerfield Hall. And right now, of course, we're not open for in person because of COVID-19, but you can also find our website by searching KU Student Money Management, and you can schedule an appointment there. We're open from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday for virtual appointments. And then once school starts back up in February, we'll be open in office from on Mondays and Wednesdays from 9 to 4. So, yeah.
Awesome. Great. So, Liz and Kevin, thanks again for sharing such great information on credit with us today. Unfortunately, we're out of time now. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Be sure to tune in tomorrow at noon as we will discuss budgeting with some more amazing guest speakers. Attend all 4 sessions and complete a survey at the end of the week to get a free LinkedIn professional headshot and a $10 Starbucks gift card. Thanks again for joining us, everyone. We will see you again tomorrow at noon. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.